stop scrolling for a second, because what I'm about to say will change the way you see yourself forever. Right now, there are people in your life, friends, family, coworkers, who are draining your energy, manipulating your thoughts, and trying to make you feel small without you even realizing it. They smile in your face while slowly stealing your confidence. And here's the brutal truth: most people let it happen every single day because they don't understand one simple rule: respect is not given, it is claimed. If you continue to allow toxic people to push you around, to question your worth, to dictate your emotions, you are silently giving them control over your life. Every compromise, every hesitation, every time you swallow your feelings, you teach the world that your dignity is negotiable. And that stops here. This video is not for the faint-hearted. It's for those ready to see themselves clearly, ready to claim power over their own life, and ready to finally hold toxic people accountable. Not by fighting them, not by arguing, but by standing unshakable in their own worth. What I'm about to share with you is not advice you've heard before. It's the kind of truth most people avoid because it demands action. It will teach you how to see toxic behavior for what it really is, how to protect your mind, how to set boundaries so strong they can't touch you, and how to respect yourself in ways that will shock everyone around you. By the end of this video, you will no longer feel small, manipulated, or powerless. You will see your value clearly, and once you do, the world will have no choice but to respect it. So watch carefully, because if you let these words sink in, your life will never be the same. The people who tried to control you will lose their power, and you will finally step into the strength you were born to own. Stay until the end, because this is the moment you stop giving anyone the right to disrespect you ever again. Let's start with a truth that most people are too afraid to admit: respect is not something you earn from others. It is something you claim for yourself. Far too many of us wander through life thinking that respect comes from being liked, from being agreeable, from bending ourselves into shapes that make other people comfortable. But here's the reality: toxic people feed on compliance. They sniff out insecurity and vulnerability like predators, and they will exploit it every single time. If you do not stand firm in your self-worth, if you do not define the lines that others are not allowed to cross, you are leaving the door open for them to walk all over you. That is not just a mistake. It's a betrayal of yourself. Think about it. How often do we apologize for things that aren't our fault? How often do we shrink our presence, our voice, our very existence to avoid conflict or to avoid being disliked? Toxic people count on that. They rely on the fact that most people have been conditioned to put others before themselves, to placate rather than confront, to excuse bad behavior instead of demanding accountability. The moment you stop excusing, the moment you stop shrinking, they lose control. The moment you speak with authority, they are confronted with something they cannot manipulate: your unwavering self-respect. Claiming respect is not about arrogance or aggression. It's about clarity. It's about knowing exactly where you stand and refusing to compromise your boundaries for someone else's comfort. When you respect yourself, it radiates through your posture, your voice, your decisions. You are no longer invisible. You are no longer a doormat. You are a force that toxic people cannot ignore. And that, paradoxically, terrifies them more than confrontation ever could. Here's the philosophical depth to consider: respect is intertwined with identity. If you allow someone to belittle you, to dismiss you, or to control your emotions, you are, in effect, surrendering pieces of your identity. You are saying, without words, that their perception of you matters more than your own understanding of who you are. But the moment you reclaim respect, you reclaim yourself. You reclaim your thoughts, your choices, your life. You create a kind of armor that cannot be pierced by manipulation, guilt, or intimidation. That armor does not make you cold, it makes you invincible in ways that the toxic will never comprehend. Psychologically, when you demand respect, you are teaching everyone around you how to treat you. Humans, whether consciously or unconsciously, respond to the standards you set. If you allow disrespect, they will continue to test boundaries. But when you make it clear, through words, through actions, through the way you refuse to settle, that you are not negotiable, you establish a new dynamic. You shift the balance of power. You remove the ability of others to dictate your mood, your energy, your confidence. And here's the truth most people never realize: this shift does not just protect you, it changes how the world sees you. Suddenly, what others once dismissed or overlooked becomes impossible to ignore. Now, consider the practical side. Respect is non-negotiable in every area of your life, at work, at home, in friendships, in romantic relationships. It is not situational, it is a principle. You cannot pick and choose when to respect yourself. You cannot say, well, I'll let this one person disrespect me, but not the next. Every instance of tolerated disrespect chips away at your self-worth, and it compounds. It accumulates into a life defined by compromise and resentment rather than empowerment. But when you consistently claim respect, you send a clear signal to the world: I am not available for mistreatment. I am not subject to manipulation. I am not optional. This is why self-respect is revolutionary. It is not passive. It is not polite. It is a declaration of sovereignty over your own life. It is the foundation of all other victories: emotional, professional, and even spiritual. When you refuse to negotiate your dignity, you are sending a message to yourself and to the universe that you are worth more than excuses, more than manipulation, more than toxicity. And the astonishing result is that respect begins to attract respect. It creates a gravity around you, a force field that repels the energy that does not serve you. So understand this clearly: respecting yourself in the face of toxic people is not optional. It is essential. It is the cornerstone of your freedom, your power, and your peace. You do not negotiate it. You do not apologize for it, and you do not make exceptions. The moment you internalize this, the moment you act on it, you will shock the world. And, more importantly, you will shock yourself with the strength you always had but never dared to claim. Remember this: the day you decide that your respect is non-negotiable is the day you reclaim your life. No excuses, no compromises, no apologies. Claim it, own it, protect it. Because once you do, nothing, no person, no circumstance, no toxic energy can ever take it from you. Let's be blunt about something most people never want to admit: when someone is toxic toward you, it is almost never about you. That may sound simple, even obvious, but the truth is deeper and far more liberating than most people realize. Toxic people are mirrors, but not the kind that show your reflection. They are mirrors that reflect their own insecurities, their own failures, their own fears. Every harsh word, every manipulative tactic, every attempt to belittle or control you is a projection of what they are wrestling with inside. When you finally understand this, everything changes. You stop internalizing their attacks, and you start reclaiming the power they have been trying to steal from you. Think about it for a moment. How often have you felt shaken, offended, or defeated by someone's words, only to replay them endlessly in your head? How often have you doubted yourself because someone else refused to see your value? That is exactly what toxic people want. They thrive on creating doubt, confusion, and chaos. They are predators in the social sense, looking for vulnerability, and most people give it to them without hesitation. But the moment you recognize that their behavior is a reflection of them, not a verdict on you, you remove their power. You become untouchable. Here's the psychological truth: toxic people are often battling emotions and conflicts that have nothing to do with you. Their anger, jealousy, manipulation, or criticism originates from unmet needs, insecurities, or unresolved trauma. It is raw, unfiltered, and messy, and it is entirely theirs to deal with. When they lash out at you, it says far more about the darkness they are carrying than about your worth or competence. And yet, most people treat it as if it is about them, as if every insult or slight is a personal indictment. That is the trap. That is the reason toxic people succeed in draining energy and self-esteem. Philosophically, this is where freedom begins. The moment you stop believing that someone else's toxicity defines you, you reclaim your autonomy. You begin to understand that no one has the authority to determine your value except you. Their words are data, not verdicts. Their behavior is information, not truth. Once you internalize this, interactions with toxic people become exercises in observation, not battlegrounds for your self-worth. You learn to watch, to note, to maintain your boundaries, without giving their negativity a foothold inside your mind. This perspective also transforms how you respond. When you recognize that toxicity is a reflection of them, you stop reacting with fear, anger, or defensiveness. You stop arguing to justify yourself. You stop trying to fix them or earn their approval. Instead, you engage with clarity. You respond, or you walk away on your own terms. And here's the profound effect: toxic people cannot manipulate what they cannot control. The instant you understand that their behavior is a mirror of their own chaos, their attempts to dominate or unsettle you lose all effectiveness. You become a calm force, steady and unshakable, even in the presence of their storms. This is also why empathy, in a specific sense, can be powerful. Recognizing that toxicity is a reflection of inner struggle allows you to detach emotionally without bitterness. You see the root of their behavior, the fear, the inadequacy, the neediness, without excusing it, without tolerating abuse, but with understanding. Detachment doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong. It allows you to operate from a place of insight rather than reactivity. It allows you to protect your energy while maintaining your dignity. Every time you remind yourself that their toxicity is theirs, not yours, you reinforce a vital truth: you are not responsible for the emotions, failures, or manipulations of others. You are only responsible for how you respond, for the standards you maintain, and for the energy you allow into your life. Toxic people can speak, act, and attempt to control, but they cannot touch the core of who you are unless you let them. And when you finally see that clearly, their words lose their sting, their actions lose their weight, and their attempts to destabilize you collapse in the face of your grounded self-respect. So, the next time a toxic person tries to shake your confidence, remember this: their behavior is not a mirror of your flaws, it is a mirror of their battles. Their attacks are not a reflection of your value, they are a reflection of their limitations. You cannot control them, and you should not try. You can, however, control how you internalize their actions and how you maintain your integrity, peace, and power in response. And here's the closing truth to carry with you: the moment you stop personalizing toxicity, you reclaim the authority over your life, and the world can no longer define your worth. It is theirs to battle, not yours to absorb. Hold that, own that, protect that. Let's get something straight: boundaries are not optional. They are not a suggestion. They are not a maybe if it feels right kind of thing. If you want to respect yourself in front of toxic people, if you want to protect your energy, if you want to walk through life without being manipulated or controlled, you need boundaries. And not the soft, polite, "I guess this is okay" boundaries most people try to enforce. They don't work. You need boundaries that are solid, unmovable, and non-negotiable. Boundaries that make it instantly clear what you will tolerate and what you will not. Because toxic people do not respect weakness, and they will push every line you do not define. Think about the psychology of it. Toxic individuals are master manipulators. They rely on confusion, on blurred lines, on hesitation. They test, they prod, they push. They want to see if you will step back, if you will apologize, if you will excuse their behavior. And the moment you hesitate, the moment you falter, they take it as permission. That's why boundaries are more than rules, they are weapons. They are shields that protect your dignity, your peace, and your self-worth. Without them, you are defenseless. With them, you become untouchable. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about controlling yourself. They are about deciding what is acceptable and what is not, and then standing firm in that decision, no matter what pressure comes from outside. They are about refusing to allow another person's chaos to seep into your mind and heart. When you set a boundary, you are sending a message, not to punish them, but to protect yourself. I am not negotiable. I am not optional. I will not be disrespected. And here's the shocking truth: toxic people hate that. They fear it because they rely on your flexibility, on your willingness to absorb their negativity. Boundaries take away their power. Setting boundaries requires clarity and courage. Clarity because you must know what you will accept and what you will not. Courage because toxic people will test, push, and even lash out when you enforce them. You will be challenged. You may even be accused of being selfish, cold, or difficult. But here's the reality: standing firm is not selfish. Protecting your energy is not cruelty. It is survival. And in the presence of toxic people, survival requires more than endurance. It requires strategy. Boundaries are that strategy. Philosophically, boundaries are also a form of self-respect. Every time you refuse to tolerate manipulation, every time you walk away instead of bending, every time you speak your truth instead of swallowing it, you reinforce your own value. You are teaching the world, and yourself, how to treat you. This is the paradox: the more rigid your boundaries, the more freedom you gain. Because freedom is not the absence of rules, it is the presence of control over your own life. Toxic people cannot take that from you unless you allow them to. Boundaries ensure that you never will. Practically speaking, boundaries come in many forms. They are spoken words. I will not be spoken to this way. They are actions: walking out of a conversation that turns toxic, limiting time spent with people who drain you. They are emotional: refusing to internalize blame that is not yours, refusing to feel guilt for standing up for yourself. And yes, they can even be physical: leaving spaces, rooms, or environments where you are not respected. Every boundary you set is a statement: my peace is more important than your discomfort. Here's the most powerful insight: toxic people will push until they hit a wall. If that wall is weak, they break through and continue. But if that wall is strong, they retreat, sometimes slowly, sometimes immediately, but they retreat nonetheless. Boundaries are your walls, and your commitment to them determines whether you are a target or a force to be reckoned with. When you enforce boundaries consistently, you are no longer participating in the chaos. They are. You are an observer of it, unshaken, unmanipulated, untouchable. Remember, boundaries are not just about defense. They are about power. The power to protect your mind, your energy, and your life. The power to ensure that your self-respect cannot be negotiated, compromised, or dismissed. The power to teach others that you are not available for abuse, manipulation, or disrespect. The power to reclaim your life from the people who try to steal it. So, understand this clearly. Boundaries are not a suggestion. They are your weapon. They are the invisible armor that shields you from toxicity. They are the declaration that you will no longer be anyone's victim. And the moment you claim this power, the moment you enforce your boundaries without apology, you will see the world shift around you. Toxic people will flinch. Respect will follow. And peace, the kind you have been searching for, will finally be yours. And here is the closing truth to carry with you: every boundary you set is a battle won in the war for your self-respect. Protect it, enforce it, and never, ever compromise it. Let's confront a truth most people never fully grasp: self-respect is not just an internal feeling. It is a force that transforms everything around you. It is not passive. It is not a quiet, hidden quality that exists only in your mind. Self-respect radiates outward, altering the way people perceive you, the way the world responds to you, and even the way you move through life itself. Toxic people fear it, not because they are evil, but because it exposes their weakness. They sense it immediately when someone refuses to tolerate disrespect, refuses to compromise their dignity, refuses to allow anyone to dictate their value. Self-respect is the line in the sand that makes everything else fall into place. Consider how most people interact with toxic individuals. They bend, they excuse, they rationalize, they apologize for feelings they never owed. And in doing so, they teach the world that their value is negotiable. That is why toxic people succeed. They prey on the uncertainty and inconsistency of others. But when you respect yourself, when you place your dignity above manipulation and coercion, you stop being a target. You stop being a participant in the chaos. The moment you claim yourself, respect as non-negotiable, everything changes. You no longer have to fight for recognition, for fairness, for acknowledgement. You embody it, and the world is forced to respond accordingly. Psychologically, self-respect is a foundation. It is the lens through which every interaction, every decision, every relationship is filtered. When you possess it, you immediately recognize what serves you and what does not. You no longer tolerate people who drain your energy or diminish your worth. You no longer allow circumstances to dictate your peace or your confidence. Instead, you become the measure of your own value. And here's the profound reality. The more clearly you hold this standard for yourself, the more others are compelled to align with it. You set the tone for how people engage with you. Your energy, your presence, your boundaries, they all communicate one unmistakable truth: I am not available for disrespect. Philosophically, self-respect is also liberation. Most people spend a lifetime chasing validation, constantly seeking approval from others, constantly measuring themselves against opinions that hold no real authority over their lives. Toxic people exploit this endlessly. They know that if they can shake your confidence, if they can make you doubt yourself, they can control you. But when you cultivate self-respect, you reclaim that power. Approval is no longer necessary. Validation is no longer required. Your energy, your decisions, your presence, they are defined by you and you alone. That realization is shocking to those who depend on control and manipulation, and it is exhilarating for anyone finally daring to claim it. Here's another dimension most people overlook: self-respect is contagious. When you hold it unapologetically, people around you respond differently. Allies emerge, relationships improve, opportunities that were once inaccessible suddenly become visible. Toxic energy loses its grip. Respect attracts respect. The moment you demonstrate that your boundaries, your voice, your dignity are immutable, the world adjusts. Even if only subconsciously. People may not always express it, but they feel it and they respond accordingly. This is why self-respect is transformative. It does not just protect you, it reshapes your environment. It elevates the quality of your life. Of course, cultivating self-respect is not always easy. It requires reflection, courage, and sometimes confrontation. It requires the willingness to walk away from people, situations, or patterns that diminish your worth. It requires saying no when you have been conditioned to say yes. It requires standing firm when others push, mocking your boundaries, or attempt to undermine your confidence. And yet, every time you do, you reinforce the most powerful truth you can ever embody. You are in control of your life, your peace, and your dignity. Toxicity may exist around you, but it cannot exist within you unless you allow it. Remember, self-respect is not pride or arrogance. It is clarity. It is strength. It is the unshakable foundation upon which everything else in life is built. When you respect yourself, you refuse to negotiate your peace. You refuse to compromise your value. You refuse to participate in the drama of people who seek to diminish you. And in doing so, you shock the world. And more importantly, you shock yourself with the power you have always carried but never fully claimed. So, take this with you. The level of self-respect you demand from yourself determines the quality of everything in your life. Protect it fiercely. Uphold it relentlessly. Let it guide your actions, your words, and your decisions. Because the moment you fully embody self-respect, toxic people lose their hold. Your energy becomes unstoppable, and your world transforms in ways you never imagined possible.